Welcome to Real Estate Investing for Women. On this show, you will learn how to create wealth through real estate the blissful way. That means with very little stress and very little time. We talk about strategies, mindset, heart set, money smarts, resources, and so much more to ensure you're able to create the success you most deeply desire. Now, here's your host, Moneeka Sawyer.
Today, I am so excited to welcome to the show a fabulous mother and daughter team, Robyn and Jordan Bentley. Robyn Bentley, broker at Wine Country Consultants, offers unrivaled insights into the world of vineyard and winery real estate. With over 30 years of experience, she has offices in St. Helena, California, Portland, Oregon, and Walla Walla, Washington. I love that city. Well, I love the name of it. Robyn's lifelong commitment to assisting women and children in need has led her to volunteer for numerous organizations, as well as serve on the board of Community Resources for Children of Napa Valley and the Oregon Children's Trust Fund. Robyn raised both her children, Jordan and Ross Bentley, in St. Helena, and is very proud to have them as partners in the WCC team. With an MFA in photography and teaching experience at Tufts University, Jordan's creative eye, dedication to detail, and knowledge of the Napa Valley are an invaluable asset to the family real estate business. She currently serves as the president of Our Town St. Helena, a nonprofit dedicated to providing and creating affordable housing for all in St. Helena, California. Wow, ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes, we're so happy to meet you.
You too. I didn't tell you guys this in the green room, but I moved to Napa in the 6th grade, went to Napa High School. So I'm kind of a Napa native also. So I've never had people on the show from that area. It's amazing to meet you guys.
Well, we are honored to be your first. And what a wonderful, how long did you live in Napa?
I think I lived in Napa, I want to say 6 or 7 years.
Did you enjoy it?
It was a weird time. I was there in the 80s. It'll kind of date me. So I enjoyed it, but I didn't realize how much was going on behind my back until I left and kind of saw, I went to UC Berkeley from Napa. So kind of like a complete different cultural thing. But I will say this is that my husband and I will frequently do our weekends away, probably 2 or 3 times a year to Napa just to get me regrounded. Do you know what I mean? Like I was there when I was a teenager. They were the most, the biggest, most important years of my life, my development. So it helps me to really ground. So we just love going back. So I do love that area very, very much. So
well, please, next time you're in the area, join us for a glass of wine.
Oh, I would love that.
We're in our office right now in St. Helena. We'd love that.
Ooh, I love that. We're actually planning something in November. We were thinking about going to Bistro Gentil is my favorite up in Yountville. So maybe we could do some wine before that. I would love that.
Yes, we do too.
Yeah. So ladies, now that we've got all our social stuff planned, let's let's talk more about you. So tell us a little bit about how you got into sort of investing in wine property and helping people do that.
We moved here in 1993, and here is St. Helena, right in the middle of Napa Valley. Jordan's father, my first husband, it was his job that brought us here. And Clark Bentley was hired as the CFO for Pine Ridge Winery. Mm-hmm. And we all kind of grew up in the wine business because of Clark bringing us here. We had lived in Mill Valley for 10 years prior to the move here, and had come often, like you, for weekends and getaways. And we looked at investing in vacant land during that time, thinking maybe we would do a second home, never imagining that we would actually find jobs in this wine world. We just loved wine, and we loved the lifestyle, which is very much a rural, Midwestern value community. And I grew up in Illinois, Jordan's father grew up in Oklahoma. And we moved to California in 79. So we really continued to kind of want to raise Jordan and Ross in an environment that was very inclusive and very much a part of community and a smaller community, because we had spent some time, as I say, in Marin, which was growing and quite active at that juncture. So with that move here, I decided to step into the real estate world. I had been a buyer for Macy's California in my first career. I ended up buying men's shoes, traveling the world doing that. So great background in marketing and assessing numbers, understanding kind of investing and what kind of return you want. Up in the next career phase I had was with Waverton Children's Home. I was the community relations coordinator, and that was during the follow your heart and follow your dream Oprah Winfrey influence.
Yes.
Which I loved.
Yes.
I loved it because it fit in with my commitment to helping women and children, which I had started volunteering in my mid-20s, about the same time that I had Jordan. And so Jordan all along would come to events and help set up, and was always involved with any of the volunteer work I did. So arriving here in 93, Jordan was in 4th grade, Ross was in kindergarten, and I decided that I would follow my real passion, which had always been real estate. But I had had this sense that it was going to really take too much time away from raising my children, because real estate at that point was always talked about being a night and weekend gig.
Agent, right. That's right.
And in reality, because the focus is wine industry, wineries, vineyards, much more of a commercial aspect, the business is really more of a 9 to 5 for us back then and for us now.
Okay.
So it worked very well. And the lure of real estate, especially in Napa Valley at that time, was that every property was unique. And that I really liked. And it gave me my first opportunity to deal in land. My first real estate transaction was a vineyard transaction, and it was my first $1 million transaction. And so I was hooked.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. So that's interesting. Land rather than residential. Such an interesting way to go about that. And then Jordan, tell us a little bit about how this worked for you. I know you're what I call a legacy. I'm a legacy too with my parents, is like we got a lot of mentorship sort of by osmosis, right? But a lot of people turn their back on the business. They're like, no, thank you. So tell us a little bit about your story on how you joined your mom and all of this.
Yeah, of course. Well, as Robyn just said, I was always there helping her out, setting up, whether it was for her stint with volunteer groups, but that very quickly morphed into helping her with open houses and all of her residential listings here in St. Helena. So I like to say that I grew up in real estate.
Yeah.
And so I always loved it. And I always loved to, of course, be with mom and help her out as much as I could. I did go off after high school. I went to Colorado to earn my undergraduate degree at Colorado College, and then went over to Boston and earned my Master of Fine Arts Photography from Massachusetts College of Art and Design. And so I followed my passion for the arts and for photography and teaching, and did that for, oh my gosh, I think I was gone for almost 11 years total. Mom and I, whenever we visit each other, kind of coast to coast, Boston, California, whenever we were parting, we would, between the boo-hoo-hoos, we would say that one day we were going to live, just down the street from each other, which is true to this day. But at the time, we didn't know how it was going to work out. But the stars aligned, and I was in Boston and kind of had a pivotal point in do I keep going on this teaching career path, which I really loved, or do I take a big leap of faith and move back to California and see where life takes me? And so I went with the big leap of faith, and so happy that I did. A big part of that, who's also a partner of ours, my brother, Ross Bentley, was living here in St. Helena and working as a winemaker. And so I really wanted to come back and be able to have more time with him as well. So I came back and started helping mom with my photo background. I started with marketing. So I really started learning her business and the real estate business and the industry here through photographing and assisting creating the marketing pieces for her listings. And I was hooked right away. But it wasn't until I was on site, kind of being your eyes and ears as a note taker, because she was juggling a few different things at the time, where I got to see, I believe there was a land use consultant, there was the current owners, there was the buyer that was in escrow. We had a civil engineer out, and everyone was talking about the various possibilities of how to, successfully achieve receiving a permit for a winery on that property, and how best to support that. And I just loved it. I was hooked. I loved all the different pieces of the puzzle. I am a big darkroom in the photo world. I'm a big darkroom rat. So there's so many different ways to create that final product. Just like there's so many different ways to create a successful project and investment on a piece of land. So that part of my brain just totally dived in and started clicking. So I asked mom a few months later if how she felt about me earning my real estate license and joining her at a larger capacity. And I think you were extremely excited and hoped it would go in that direction. So that was the beginning of our official partnership. And that was about almost a little over 9 years ago when I received started getting my license. And we've been having way too much fun ever since.
Love that. It's so much fun to watch. Like I said, I was in Napa from I left high school in 87. So I moved there. Actually, I think I moved there in 79. So we did all of our leadership conferences at Robert Mondavi, at their place, and there were very few wineries. There were just Robert Mondavi was trying to really spearhead that industry in that area. So it was just a baby industry. There were maybe 10 wineries or something. Maybe I'm exaggerating. And that's Napa proper, like on the way up to St. Helena, right? And Yountville and all of those areas. But anyway, so in Napa proper, and it's just been fascinating to watch the way that the wineries and everything has just exploded. It's gotten so much bigger. There's so many more opportunities. There's actually a winery called Sawyer Winery, which we always make an appointment to go. They're appointment only, but we love their wines, fortunately.
Good.
It's all in the name, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you can adopt them. There's no reason why not.
Exactly. And then Visa Tui is where my family used to go for every Sunday. We would do a picnic at Visa Tui.
Oh,
what a wonderful tradition.
I know. So we love that. So it's been really fun to watch the industry just expand and grow and see the wines get better and all of that stuff. And the reason I was telling you all of this is it does seem like building a dream. Kind of like what you were saying, Jordan, is there's so many different pieces, and people come up there from the valley and from all over the country and the world to start a winery there. And you start with this idea, and now you build an entire dream, and it's beautiful. And I've watched it over the years happen over and over and over again. So it's just fabulous to meet some of the people that are making it happen.
Well, I think it's a huge passion of both of ours to assist each and every one of our clients that comes to us, no matter where it might be, whether they're, from outside of the wine industry currently, but they've had a passion for it, like all of us here, wanting to, just loving the area and loving the Valley and Atlantic connection and then wanting to grow that. Or if it's an existing vintner or, grower that is currently within the wine industry and they're wanting to expand and build upon their dream and create even deeper roots with their own legacy. I see it as an extreme privilege to be able to be one piece of that puzzle, one spoke of that wheel, for them to achieve their success.
Right. Awesome. So tell me, when people come to you, do they have like their checklist? Like they've got their budget? Do they have their vision? Or do you kind of help massage that? What's the number one reason for investing in the Napa Valley?
The number one reason, hands down, is that they love wine to begin with.
Yes.
And so in some cases, they have the wherewithal financially, the financial capacity to kind of jump into that world maybe within the first few years of going, I really like wine, I really like this area. How can we begin to kind of put a little foothold down? Or sometimes it's somebody who, we've been talking with a gentleman recently who's a dentist who just identified the buyer for his business in Arizona, and he's going to retire in a couple years. So he just invested in a vineyard site that he will now start working on, so it's ready for him when he arrives. But he has been loving wine for like the last 40 years. And this is will be the beginning of that new dream, and the passion for the rest of his life after coming out of dentistry.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, do people normally have a vision, or are you normally massaging that vision, or how do people come to you?
Well, like I said before, we have clients from all different parts of the world, so to speak, and different industries. So, in terms of their own checklist, absolutely, people come with a relatively clear vision. Whether they, just like the dentist that Robyn was describing, has a clear vision in that he wants wine and creating a brand to be his next step in life. And so there's it can be as simple as raising. We actually had a few years ago a client call us. He was a developer, real estate developer elsewhere in the country, Colorado and on the East Coast, and called up and said, same thing. I love wine. How do I start? And so then we did help flesh out the various steps and connecting to the various consultants and players within the industry that would help him gain his success and dream that he had. But like I said, starts off with, I love wine and I really want to create something. So that usually is a brand. And one way or the other. And then we have people that have been in the industry since the quote unquote very beginning. That we have some people that we're connected with and clients that are 6th, 7th generation Napa Valley. And they've been either growers or, winemakers or vintners, and have their own very successful brands and labels that are well known to us all. And they are wanting to have more supply, so more vineyard land, or perhaps they have a second label and they want a new home for that brand. And so we essentially assist the whole gamut. And they come to us. The ones that are already within the industry definitely have a very specific, very clear checklist. And it's a lot of fun to help them achieve that. For instance, on the vineyard point of view, location and varietal needs are huge. And so we have a lot of fun, hearing, okay, we would like X amount of acreage with this varietal and this ADA. And then we get to go out and do our best and find that connection for them.
Nice.
We're just putting a deal together right now for a grower, vintner, who wanted to expand supply. And we started that search 8 months ago because he was very specific on varietal, very specific on location, very specific as to the orientation of the vineyard. So a lot of details, water, all sorts of things went into that checklist. We didn't know if we were going to make it, and there was a tax exchange involved. So we just very serendipitously came across the ideal property for him that we are very excited to be moving forward on.
Nice. Do you feel like you're usually able to check off all of their check boxes, or?
I think so. The what Robyn just said about that timeline, the timeline for let's say wine industry investment, land, vineyard, wineries, is much longer than your typical residential timeline. And so when we do get that checklist, it is absolutely our goal to meet every single need. A lot of times, though, what's interesting in the process of searching, whenever we see something, let's say it only checks off 2 of the boxes, but we think it could still be a really interesting investment. That also can shift and change their checklist, so to speak. And so sometimes it grows and sometimes it goes even more narrow. But absolutely, I think we have been lucky in that I would say a majority of the time we're able to make sure that they get what they want and sometimes more.
Nice. So, ladies, I'm curious as an investment. So people come up. So usually people will come up and they invest in the winery parts of the Napa Valley because they have an interest in wine. Do you find that most people invest because they want to start growing grapes, or they want to actually have a grape, growing the grapes, or they want to open a winery or whatever? There's so many different things you can do in that industry, right? Um, or do you find that some people just invest for the growth? And is there a lot of growth? Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, maybe you love wine, but you don't want to necessarily, kind of get your hands dirty in it, right? You don't want to work it, but you're very interested in the industry and investing in it. What's the growth like in the industry, and are there possibilities for that?
There absolutely are. I think the biggest growth potential in Napa Valley is real estate appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, making money as a vintner is a very, very hard road.
Mm-hmm.
And some people knock it out of the park, and other people struggle forever, and are okay struggling because they love the lifestyle and they're doing what they love to do.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say your first investment, possibly coming to the valley and buying a home, depending on whether you want to use it or not, but buying it as an investment with a vineyard, say, surrounding it. So you could actually start, let's say, with a minimum of 5 acres and a house that you use on weekends, or you rent it out, and you can receive income and tax benefits from the vineyard. So some very interesting kind of additional benefits to the investment. And then learn how you feel about it as time goes on. That small step, by buying a vineyard into the wine world, will open up your understanding of how the process works and how viticulture and winemaking go hand in hand in a very short, easy way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's support around all of that. So let's say, Moneeka, you thought, well, I have an extra $1.5 million, $2 million maybe, to buy
just laying around,
to buy a house and some vines. There's going to be people, we have part of Wine Country Consultants passion, and what we bring to the table is that we have worked with our consulting crew for the past 30 years also, and everyone is at the top of their game, and everybody's game is to make you successful. So we would be able to help you with a vineyard manager. We'll be able to help you with an accountant, things that you may need going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say 5 years down the road, we can all look at different periods of appreciation, but they call it California gold for a reason. Real estate, really, if you can get in and make a stand in a very short period of time, you're going to have significant equity.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of our job is to understand all the pieces, let's say, of that vineyard buy. What is the age of the vines? What's going to cost going forward, so that you have a clear map and you can afford this 5 to 10 year hold, let's say. So then maybe what you do is sell that in the future. And if you like what this business is doing, maybe you go to a little bigger vineyard, or a second buy, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe that vineyard's in a different AVA.
What do you mean by ADA?
AVAs are
American Viticulture Association
areas.
Yes.
So
apologies.
I think we have around 15 or so in Napa Valley. So AVAs are like microclimates within Napa Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Howell Mountain AVA, Spring Mountain AVA. Stag's Leap is probably our most famous and most expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Washington, Oregon, all have viticulture areas. And we actually, the pricing is different for almost every AVA. The growing conditions are different. The varietals are different. So that decision making for a first time investor, what AVA would you like to be in, generally is reflective of the wine that they like.
What do they drink? That's right. Exactly. You brought up some interesting points, and I know that you're not tax consultants or anything like that, but there are very definitely some very specific tax benefits that you get from owning, because vineyards are considered ag, right? Agriculture. So could you tell us a little bit about, and again, I know the disclosure, you're not CPAs, but you kind of understand what people are going for, right? So what are some of the benefits of the tax benefits of owning, for instance, a house surrounded by a vineyard?
So yes, we are not tax specialists, but we can connect you with several people that are. And the ins and outs and specifics of them, to be honest, I couldn't necessarily give you exact examples. However, I do know that just one, by owning land, and then whether or not there's something in California called the Williamson Act. And that helps the owners if that property is within the Williamson Act. I believe, again, do not quote me, but I believe the property has to have 70% of it dedicated to ag in order to receive a lot of tax benefits that are through, property taxes and things of that sort. So that's one avenue. Even if it's not in the Williamson Act, there are benefits if you have a certain amount of your property dedicated to ag. So whether that, around here that, let's say 99% is dedicated to vineyards and growing grapes. However, there's also ag can be considered cattle land, orchards, there's a whole bunch of, and obviously across the whole state of California, there's, and all over the country, but state of California, there's lots of different departments in ag. But also the fruit, I know that there's benefits to, depending on the sales, like your vines do depreciate and have value there. That is an asset to the land that then is depreciated. And then the, depending on what your growing program is, there's also, I believe, some benefits in that department as well. So
interesting.
They can, within the last 20 years, the vintner community has gotten very good at understanding multiple ways to depreciate a vine. And so there's also cost benefits to identifying the AVA. So when you buy a vineyard, there's some AVAs cost more than others. And so that cost difference is also a tax benefit. The depreciation of the vine itself is also one avenue. And then the depreciation of the irrigation lines.
Yes.
All these things go very deep, and larger growers, vintners go very deep because it's worth doing so for every penny that it takes to be successful. Starting on the smaller end, maybe not so much, but there are definitely advantages, agricultural advantages to it.
Yeah.
And we're actually doing our own little video series with some of our consultants talking about different aspects. And so one of our future conversations is going to be having a wonderful accountant consultant explain in detail.
Got it. I think it's so funny when we talk about depreciation, because you feel like the reason we depreciate a house is because it's losing its value because it's what do you say? It's an asset that is not as nice, right? It's like things break and stuff happen, right?
Asset. So yeah,
exactly. I lost my words, right? But what's so funny about depreciating a wine is because the vines just get better with age.
Well,
so yes, I think it's yes ironic. No. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yes and no. But
depending, yes, if you'd like to do an old vine zin, perhaps there's lots of reason to keep that 50-year-old vine. But the life cycle of a vineyard, definitely, has its peak and then it starts to trail
Of
off.
course. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's in Napa Valley, that's around 20 years. If a vineyard's 20 years old, all of a sudden there's a little talk about replanting. We
Huh.
generally don't go longer than about 30 years before there's a replant. So many changes happen in the time. They learn so much more about how to orient rows and growing practices that the vintners really get excited about that change up. Maybe the not only the orientation towards the sun, but should they be 4x7 spacing or 5x6, or these kind of things really play into that decision to replant. When we look at the return on investment on a vineyard, how you gain that return is through selling your fruit, which is selling tonnage. For Napa Valley Cab, in general, they're growing fruit to come in at about 3 tons per acre. That compared, let's say, to Central Coast, where they're doing more of a bulk supply issue, they might be actually growing to 6 to 7 tons.
Oh, interesting.
So understanding as the vine ages that the tonnage, because they all end up with some disease, it's just a matter of fact as we age, that things start to kind of fall apart. And so there's that, the investor is constantly looking for that break even, and how far can I go before the tonnage in the vineyard is going to start predicating that I need to replant.
Got it. So interesting, because we lived in France for a year and a half too. And there was a lot of talk about old vines and stuff like that, like purchasing old vines and making sure that you're getting the right kind of fruit and that sort of thing. So there's definitely an old vine culture in France. It sounds like it's not quite the same.
It's not the same in Napa. It's not.
Okay.
Even in Willamette Valley, which we like a lot of it.
I like that a lot too.
They love their old vines, 60 years old. They really make a big deal about it. Not so much here. Jordan mentioned Zin. Zin seems to be the one where, people can hang on to some vines for 40, 50 years and still sell, even if it's only producing a ton, maybe that ton's worth $20,000. So it makes sense for them to keep farming.
Yeah. So interesting. So Willamette does that, because I'm crazy about the Willamette Valley wines.
We are too. We have a home in Portland. We office in Portland. Willamette Valley is just they've really taken a huge market share, I think, from Sonoma Valley in terms of Pinot. But at the same time, I think Sonoma Valley and Willamette Valley actually play beautifully together in creating, making Pinot Noir much more popular than it's been in many, many, many years.
Well, and they have a completely different flavor. Right. So they fill a different need, I think, with the it's so interesting. Like now, as I'm thinking about it, I'm not really a wine person. You wouldn't believe that by what I just said, but I'm not really a wine person. But I can definitely taste the difference between a Sonoma Valley Pinot or a Willamette Pinot or a French Pinot, depending on where, So so the grapes make a huge difference, and sort of how old the vines are and stuff like that, I thought actually made a pretty big difference. So, but I do think that older vines, if they're in an area, based on what you're saying, where old vines are valued and they can sustain themselves without getting diseased and stuff like that, that they're going to definitely produce a very different kind of flavor, and you pay for that more. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
The price per ton of that fruit is reflected in the bottle.
Right.
And so,
And we talk a lot about in terms of, investing, like Robyn said, let's say you come in and you invest in a 5-acre vineyard right off the bat. If that vineyard is not already what we call branded, so known within the industry, so if someone buys from that, buys fruit from that vineyard, if it's not branded, then it would just go into their program. They may not necessarily need to call out that vineyard on their bottle. But if it's a branded vineyard with, some good legs on it already, so to speak, then a lot of times the growers will require that the vintner puts the name of that vineyard on their bottle. So it's Napa Valley from the, XYZ vineyard.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Called the vineyard designate.
Vineyard designate. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. So talk to me a little bit about financing with these vineyards. It's obviously not going to be the same as we're used to, in other places. Could you tell us a little bit about what's different and how it works?
We just had Nick, we just had a long conversation with Nick Cardigan, who's an appraiser for Ag Credit. We work with all the lenders in the Valley very closely. And so you have options on lending. There you can go with a traditional lender like Ag Credit, Silicon Valley Bank, big in the area. Also, there are small business loans available.
Mhm.
And so we have done a lot of work with Jeff Clark with
Live Oak
Bank. And so you can actually get a mortgage, let's say, you can get a loan that will be amortized over 30 years. So there are some real benefits to digging into what your lending options are.
Okay.
And that process is really something that is for the first time investor, or for any investor, that's really where you want to start. What are the terms? What terms am I looking at? What expectations does the lender have of what I am purchasing? And the lender will go deep into your business plan, and help you be successful. So we work hand in hand with our clients and lenders all the time. In Napa Valley, we are also very lucky. The majority, I would say, we're probably looking at 80% of the transactions that we do are all cash transactions.
Oh, okay. That was going to be my next question was, do people use leverage? Like how much do you need to put down? Can you get loans and that sort of thing? So if you're going to finance it, first of all, do you think that's a good idea? And if you do, how much do people usually need to put down on a loan like that?
Absolutely. Even if you have the capacity to pay all cash, oftentimes, I think it's generally wonderful to have cash on hand and be able to receive a loan that has wonderful terms and rates is in a lot of ways very beneficial. And so, yes, if you look into both options, let's say, absolutely. And the lenders that Robyn just spoke of and others have really wonderful options for our clients and anyone looking to invest. I would say typically putting down it is a bit different for sure than a residential play, even though some of our lenders can accommodate off sometimes 0% down. So full funding, that is rare. I would say typically you are looking at minimum of 20, but more 30% of what you're putting down. So 30% down, and then 70% is put in towards the loan.
Got it. So that's actually like most rental properties that we buy anyways. You usually have to put 25 to 35% down anyways, even on residential. But sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say these small business loans. So Live Oak Bank, for example, they actually have a program where if you're already in the business and making money and it makes sense, that they will do the full loan amount, and they'll also then loan for improvements.
That's what I was going to ask. And that's the next step is, let's say someone who's not in the business comes up, gets a loan. How do you finance the actual building of, like buying all the vines, buying the equipment, all of those different things? Do you get financing for that separately as a business loan? Will the lender that does the mortgage do that? Do you have to just keep enough in reserves to do that? How do you get, I know there's lots of different options, but can you talk to me a little bit about some of those?
Yeah, no, I think, like Robyn said, there's certain lenders that will then give you a certain amount on top of the loan for the actual purchase of the investment of the property to then put back into the business that you're creating. And you mentioned equipment. Oftentimes, if there is equipment, let's say for a winery, it's the value of that equipment is determined within the process of the purchase agreement, but there is a value for that, and it usually is included in the property. Sometimes not. Sometimes there's things that are excluded, just like any other investment. Certain fixtures are just come standard, and others are an option. When it's just a vineyard, oftentimes there's perhaps some equipment that is usually included in the sale. Oftentimes, though, the vineyard is being managed by a vineyard manager. And so they bring in their own equipment. And so there really isn't much besides just the nuts and bolts of the actual of the vines that come with that land automatically. So I think that there's options for sure to grow and immediately receive financial help through those lenders to go forward and be successful with your investment.
So if you're not buying an actual vineyard that's already planted, what happens if you buy land and now you want to start from the ground up, right? So you need to buy all those vines and whatever, like the fans and all of that stuff that happen, right?
Yep.
Before you get to buy all that fun stuff, you have to have approval from Napa County.
Of course.
So if you're looking to develop that, the actual spending of money starts with hiring engineers and experts on what soil type you have, what slope do you have, creating a lot of detail that then needs to be approved by Napa County. Unless the land you're buying is under a 5% slope, which is basically flat, you have to have an erosion control plan developed and presented. That process alone can take a year or two to happen. And so part of what we do is, if that is indeed what the intention is to buy and develop, during the due diligence process, we have to identify approximately how many acres that is. And that's done with consultants that are experts in the area, and what the cost associated would be and what that timing looks like. Okay. Because now you're really looking, once you plant these vines, you're really not going to start receiving income until we're, let's say, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. And so it takes a lender and an investor with a long-term vision, because we're going to get out of that short-term vision in about 5 years. So it's really 5 to 10 years after you purchase that now you're going to see the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, quite literally. That's awesome. Yay. And actually, that's a really good segue. Talking about due diligence, we are going to be talking in extra about how the offer process works when you find something that you want to buy, how to go through that process, and part of the due diligence and all of those pieces that go into making that offer, setting a price, and all of that stuff. So we are going to be talking about that in extra. So ladies, stay tuned for that. And before we go through our 3 rapid fire questions, ladies, could you talk a little bit about how people can get in touch with you and what kinds of services you're offering the ladies?
Probably the quickest way to really understand what we do and the breadth of our reach and how we can really help is to go to our website, which is winecc.net. There you're going to find all of our information, phone numbers, and email addresses, but a list of our consultants. And we'd love to hear from you. If it's easier just to pick up the phone or shoot an email, text. We are, I would say, always excited to meet new people and to talk about new projects. And we're all readily accessible. So, we look forward to hearing from anybody and any questions. It doesn't have to be necessarily that you have an investment in mind right away. We're happy to kick around and explore ideas.
Awesome. And you said winecc.com?
.net.
.net. Okay. winecc.net. Awesome. So ladies, go check it out. So much to learn on this. And we've never had anybody on the show talking about wineries. So what fun. All right. So ladies, are you ready for our 3 rapid fire questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Give us one super tip on getting started investing in real estate.
Contact a local real estate broker in the area that you want to invest and find out from them what they believe would be a good stepping stone to your investment.
Got it. Awesome. And Jordan, did you want to add anything?
I was just going to say, oftentimes, we have experienced this. Oftentimes, your local broker is your window into the area. So unless you are a local yourself, and even if you are, oftentimes that brokerage firm, that broker knows and understands the current market and the current quote unquote hot spots that are perhaps already getting some legs, but then also, new ones that are just starting. So it's wonderful to figure out where you can find your spot in the super new or even, already established market.
Nice. Thank you, ladies. And then what would you say, ladies, is a strategy to be successful as a real estate investor?
I think having a passion, number one, for the location that you're investing in. I think that if you truly love the area, you truly love the community, whether or not you are a super active part of that, by having an investment in that area, you are, in my opinion, part of that area. And so even if you only visit once a year, if you visit every single day, know that your investment adds to the fabric and the success of that community. And so I feel that having a passion and a true desire to be part of that is the number one foundation for a successful investment.
I love that. And Robyn, what do you think?
Well, I think I have to agree with Jordan. There isn't anything, I think, in every area of life, if you're going to be successful, it really is bringing that positive attitude and open mind, and fueled by your love of either the investment or the area, or both, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. So interesting to have that particular conversation, that both of you said that, because that's the opposite of what a lot of people will say for residential investing. A lot of times people will say for residential investing, live where you love, but invest where the numbers make sense, right? But it really makes sense in wine country, what you're saying. So it's so, right? Like, as we think about real estate, there's so many different approaches. I often say there's a million ways to make $1 million in real estate, right? But just where you decide to pursue your real estate career, whether it's in wineries or single family homes or multifamily or storage or senior living or whatever, the way that you're going to approach that, your mindset is going to make a huge difference. And I can totally see how if you're going to invest, for instance, in the wine country, what you said just makes perfect sense, because it really is a labor of love. And like you say, there is not a fast turnaround. You're in there for the long haul. Right? So it totally makes sense to do it exactly that way. So thank you for that. And ladies, what is one daily practice that each of you does that contributes to your daily success?
Oh, I love that question. My meditation practice keeps me extremely grounded and balanced and able to navigate all the various challenges that happen daily, happen weekly, monthly, throughout not only my career, but my personal life as well. And so I would say that and that practice is ever evolving, as always, and it shifts as my daily routine shifts, and also depends on which escrow I'm in and who I'm helping out. But I always make sure that it's there. And that really actually didn't start, to be totally honest, on a daily practice until June 2020. Before then, it was probably 5 years of meditating sporadically. Sporadically meaning it could be once a week to once a month to once every couple months. And so once I decided to give myself that self-love of a daily mindful meditation practice, my inner world shifted, and then my outer world started to reflect that. And I had always heard people speak of this, and it wasn't until I decided to jump in with both feet and really make that commitment to myself that I really did see the positive changes. So I would say I can't live without my daily meditation. So
Jordan actually inspired me to meditate daily. And it is absolutely a game changer. The next thing is, even if it's only 5 minutes, it is worth, it's every second in gold. I would say, and Jordan and I, we talk, the culture of our company is very much centered around self-love and positivity. So besides meditation, I would say what we both do, and this includes Ross, is we generally are exercising outside every day.
Okay.
And so we are lucky to live close to Lake Hennessy here with great trails. And so I think you cannot get enough of being out in nature.
Absolutely.
And
that can be a meditative experience too.
You could do walking meditations. Yeah. I do a lot of walking meditations. Because if you sit still for 5 minutes, that's awesome. And sometimes I need more. Like I just had meetings, or after these shows, I've got a whole series of meetings this afternoon. To switch gears, I'll go out for lunch, go for a long walk with the dog, and just kind of do it really mindfully. So, and it's interesting both you guys say, because both of those things, meditation and exercise, and being in nature also, they're all things that the top performers all say. Like we think, we're not, that's hokey, woo woo. No, the top performers in the world do this. Like in order to be a billionaire, these are things that you need to do. And that's what they do. And so I always say, if you want to be whoever you want to be, follow their path, because success is replicatable. And these are some of those skills. People think that it's not money building specific, but it's you building specific, and you're the person that needs to perform, right?
I think our number one investment is ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so anything we can do to keep our mind, body, and spirit healthy, and that's different for everyone. But if there's anything we can do that is going to create success and generate long-lasting success in our lives, physically, I think it has to come from an inner spot first. So exercise, meditation, nature. Agreed. Yeah.
Love that. Ladies, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for what you've offered in this portion of the show.
Moneeka, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's been so much fun. Yay. And ladies,
all we need is a little glass of wine to go with it, Moneeka.
I know, we missed. I totally should have suggested that. Whatever, we'll do it again. And ladies, stay tuned for extra. We've got more. We're going to be talking about once you find a target property, how to go through your due diligence, what's the offering process and all of that. So we're going to be talking about that in extra. So if you're subscribed, stay tuned. If you're not, but would like to be, go to realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com and you can sign up there. For those of you that are leaving us now, thank you so much for joining Robyn, Jordan, and I for this portion of the show. I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, remember, goals without action are just dreams. So get out there, take action, and create the life your heart deeply desires. I'll talk to you later.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to find out more about how to become a blissful millionaire, go to blissfulinvestor.com. See you next time.